Donald Trump made it clear today that if dictator Putin doesn't give even the slightest signal of ending the war against Ukraine in the near future, American Tomahawk missiles will definitely fly towards Moscow, and Putin has already urgently requested a phone conversation with Donald Trump. Today in Israel, Donald Trump stated that he has decided to provide Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine if Putin does not agree to stop the war. Later, Donald Trump stated that after resolving the conflict between Israel and Hamas, he will fully shift his attention to Russia's war against Ukraine. And he hints that the United States may resort to coercing Russia and repeat against Moscow what the United States did to Iran in June of this year. Well, as you remember, the United States struck Iran with missiles at that time. Well, and in this context, I would like to remind you that before this, Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky had 2 phone calls within 24 hours to discuss the supply of Tomahawk missiles. The Kremlin is already hysterical, making threats, then they calmed down and stated that this is, of course, audacity. But now, Peskov has already stated that Putin is requesting an urgent conversation with Donald Trump to discuss the supply of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. In short, much has happened here in the last few hours and there's something to discuss. But Trump's main message is that, as he stated today in the Israeli Knesset, it's time to deal with Russia and sort out these unwashed Russians. My name is Alexei Pechi. Today is October 13th. Let's go through everything step by step. But before we start this episode, I want to remind you that every day on this channel, several news analysis segments are released so that you can stay up to date with absolutely all the news. That's why I recommend subscribing to this channel, and I ask you to like and leave any comment under this video. This really helps promote the episodes on YouTube. And if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation on any platform. The description of this video says, support the YouTube channel Alexei Pechi. Choose any format that's convenient for you. Any support from you would be appreciated. President Donald Trump said on October 13 that he would approve sending long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine for use against Russian territory if President Vladimir Putin does not end the war. Trump noted that the United States would not sell cruise missiles directly to Ukraine, but according to the already planned scheme, would provide these missiles to the NATO alliance, which could then transfer them to Ukraine. And then a quote from Trump. Yes, I can tell Putin that if the war does not end, we quite possibly can do this. Maybe not, but such a possibility exists. Do they want Tomahawks to fly at them? I don't think so. Let me remind you, the range of a Tomahawk missile is up to 2,500 kilometers. At the same time, Trump said that their appearance in the conflict zone would be a new round of aggression. And answering a question on Friday about Russia's possible response if Ukraine receives Tomahawks, Putin stated that Russia would respond to this very harshly. So do you know how? By strengthening its own air defense? This means Putin can't respond. He says they'll need to defend themselves and strengthen air defense in case Tomahawk missiles hit Moscow. We won't strike back at Washington. We won't respond. We Russians are brave in words, but in reality, of course, we won't respond. So, well, we'll have to strengthen our air defense. By the way, his lackeys, like Ushakov, Putin's aide, insisted that such a transfer would be a mistake. And now it becomes obvious that at this stage, Tomahawks are more of a tool to put pressure on the dictator Putin. And Trump said that he could discuss with Vladimir Putin the transfer of long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. Next, I'll quote Trump. Maybe I'll say, listen, if this war isn't settled, I'll send Tomahawks to Ukraine. I can send them. Tomahawk is an incredible weapon, very offensive, and honestly, Russia doesn't need that. Then Donald Trump expressed hope that Putin would still agree to end the war. Otherwise, as Trump added, it will end very, very badly for him. Let me remind you, earlier the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, stated that Tomahawk missile strikes, if Washington provides them to Kyiv, would be carried out exclusively against military targets on Russian territory. We're not terrorists like the Russians, so we'll simply destroy only the military infrastructure of the unwashed Russians to zero. This is also a crucial point. Zelensky also classified energy infrastructure as a military target. Because, quote, Russians sell energy resources, get money and invest it in the military sphere. That is, oil refineries, these gas pipelines, oil pipelines are quite military purposes because they serve the military economy. At the same time, Zelensky did not answer the question of whether the United States is providing Kiev with intelligence for strikes deep inside Russia. As Zelensky stated, I cannot share all the information about intelligence. We are satisfied with how our two intelligence agencies are working. As of today, they have a very strong relationship. I'll add that Donald Trump made another interesting comment yesterday, though many focused on a different context. And Trump stated that, he repeated again that the Biden administration gave Ukraine $350 billion, and then he added, but our administration, we didn't give Ukraine any money, but we gave them something bigger and more important. And this is already evident from the results of the Ukrainian army's strikes on Russian territory. Before that, the Financial Times wrote that indeed the Trump administration has been very actively sharing all intelligence data about all locations in Russia, all military sites, movements and so on over the past couple of months. So in this regard, cooperation is definitely taking place. Vladimir Putin previously stated that providing Kiev with American long-range missiles would destroy the positive trends in Russia, United States relations, and would also mark a fundamentally new stage of escalation. Putin emphasized that Ukrainian forces would not be able to use the missiles without the direct involvement of American military personnel. So what? That's really the question. Medvedev, Putin, and Lavrov have all commented on it. Well, all this bunch in Russia, they're all already shouting. Ukrainians can't launch Tomahawk missiles, only Americans can. We heard exactly the same thing about high-mobility artillery rocket system, about army tactical missile system, and so on and so on. And what happened? Well, and what are you going to do? Nothing, because that's how it goes. Putin announced his readiness to shoot down American Tomahawk missiles and to improve his air defense system. According to him, Tomahawk cruise missiles will not change the balance of power on the battlefield at all, since the Ukrainian army has problems replenishing its personnel. That's Putin's entire response. He says that the Americans will control the missiles, but what can you do? Then we'll just have to cover ourselves and strengthen our air defense system. Initially, the Kremlin resumed its usual threats against America today, but soon reconsidered. Right after Trump's statement, he just ran out to the journalists. Putin's secretary Dmitry Peskov became agitated and publicly asked Trump for talks. Peskov stated in a veiled way that there are all the possibilities for quickly organizing a conversation between United States President Donald Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to the Kremlin spokesperson, a phone conversation between Putin and Trump could take place at any moment. They say Putin won't sleep, just let Trump call him, he says. All the options are there. Next is a quote from Peskov. Trump mentioned such a possibility, but so far there are no concrete agreements about a phone conversation. The conversation will start as soon as they arrive. I repeat once again, there are all the possibilities for organizing such a phone conversation quite promptly. Translating from diplomatic language, this repetition is the Kremlin's cry saying, please, let's finally have a phone conversation. I've said this repeatedly in recent broadcasts. This week, the Kremlin has been almost shouting. They're saying, begging, publicly pleading with Trump for negotiations. They're just openly begging, saying, listen, come on, let's talk. Yesterday, Ushakov said it's easy to make a deal with the Americans. He says, we agreed on something in Anchorage, but aren't revealing everything yet. But Europe says, I didn't expect Europe to unite so much, that Europe would come together around supporting Ukraine, that it would act as such a united front. And Russians are already openly saying they really want to make a deal with Trump to bypass Ukraine and Europe. At the same time, Zelensky, speaking at the 71st annual session of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly today, stated that the leaders of parliaments and governments must secure the need to supply Ukraine with more powerful air defense systems and missiles. Zelensky reminded that twice in the last day he discussed the details of cooperation with United States President Donald Trump. According to him, they talked about air defense, Patriot systems, and of course, Tomahawk missiles. Well, as well as the necessary energy equipment and the partners' refusal to buy Russian oil. And at the end he added, quote, air terror is Putin's last move. We must stop him and not allow him to win on the ground or in the sky. Then real diplomacy will become possible. But Donald Trump made it clear that after the war in the Gaza Strip between Israel and Hamas is over, he is ready to focus exclusively on ending Russia's war against Ukraine. Trump said that it would be good to make a peace deal with Iran, but noted that before that, as he put it, it is necessary to deal with Russia. Quote, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But first, we have to deal with Russia. If you don't mind, Steve, let's focus on Russia. We'll deal with them. Yes, this quote from Trump is very telling, because when it comes to the Middle East, most of his main issues have been resolved. The only issue left is the unwashed Russians, and something needs to be done about them. And I really hope that Trump will actually focus his attention on solving this problem now. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinion and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye.